Hello everybody, welcome to the TraderMerlin show. In honor of the clown show that's going on in the United States of America, I figured I'd dress up as Pennywise today. Unfortunately, I'm not going to do the whole show with a mask on, so I'll just wear the Pennywise dress all day. Yes, Merlin and drag. What a hell of a way to start a weekend. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you had a great trading session out there. Kind of an interesting one, right? Started off looking fairly decent, got real weak, and then all of a sudden rallied back up, closing right near those highs. So all in all, not a bad day for the major market indexes. Actually thought we'd see a bit more of negativity going into the weekend, but we did not, so that's a positive sign. Now, as my attire will dictate here, the clown show goes on. We don't know who's the president yet, and of course, we'll probably have several weeks of back and forth, finger pointing, you're the culprit, there's fraud here, there's fraud there. I mean, it's probably going to go on and on and on. That will undoubtedly create some more volatility in the market. No, Tom, I'm not wearing my mask. That was tough enough. So anyway, cheers, everybody. We're all wading through the same sea together. That was a tongue twister right there. Even Dr. Seuss would be proud. You know, it's funny, after the 2016 election, I remember so many people saying, this is not my president, and other people on the other side of the aisle saying, just shut up and deal with it. Even though you might not have voted for the individual, you're going to have 4 years of whoever is elected president. Best thing we can do is just rally together and make the most of it and make your voice heard for the next election. So hopefully this all gets resolved rather quickly and we can move on down the road. Yeah, if someone just joined this show right now, I'm pretty sure I would lose some voters. I'm going to lose some voters, that's for sure, some supporters. All right, let me start off with listener questions. I had a few, and what I'm going to do is kind of a mixed bag today. I want to talk a lot about cryptocurrencies because it's a question that came in on several fronts. We talked about cryptocurrencies yesterday. And by the way, you guys remember I was talking about that $1 billion account that moved? That actually was the IRS. They finally tracked down this person who, they call him, Customer X or somebody X, I forget who it was, with the Silk Road. And that $1 billion account, $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, they finally got it, and now it moved over to the government. So that's where that $1 billion went. And I talked about the security of it and kind of a little bit about crypto yesterday. So I want to start there because I've had multiple questions with the crypto space today. So let's just dive into it, shall we? And again, if you guys have questions, send them on in. I've got a glass of whiskey, and I could stay here all night because it's going to rain here in Southern California. So let's just do a 24-hour show. How about that? Set the Guinness Book of World Records. All right, first question from Michael. He says, why would anyone want to pay fees to an exchange if it is possible to transfer directly cryptocurrencies from one to another? Can you please explain how to do that? Okay, great. I brought this up yesterday, and I was saying that, you know, if you're a nefarious character and you're using Bitcoin, it's stupid because they'll see wherever it goes. That's exactly how they caught this guy. I think Customer X or Patient X, I forget what it's called. They found him because he moved money to a Bitcoin site. And somehow that allowed them access to the original accounts. They knew it was moving, and they found their way to the end here and tracked him down. And I guess he signed a release because they busted him when he was pulling money out at that other site. So it'd be foolish for you to try to use Bitcoin as a nefarious thing, drug deals or terrorist acts or anything really dangerous. Now, sorry, Richard. This is what I wanted to wear today. I figured I'm going to be a clown like everybody in the whole political space. Both sides of the aisle, by the way, being politically correct here. So I brought up the point that you could do these things. They're called basically a swap. They're called atomic swaps. Is really what the name for them is. And what they allow you to do is jump from one blockchain to another without having to use a centralized exchange. Right now, if you wanted to trade cryptocurrencies, you'd have to use something like Coinbase, you have to use, Binance, some exchange to go from one to the other, or even convert it back to a fiat currency. You have to find somewhere to make that exchange. Now, they've been talking about this for a long time. If you go back 3 or 4 years, they said it was impossible to do. You couldn't do it. But of course, nothing is impossible. What they're doing now is on a couple of them, you can now do an atomic swap and go from, let's say, Bitcoin to Litecoin, right? And switch without going through a centralized exchange. Now, to me, that's kind of going to be the future. That will challenge the exchanges, but it's not fee-free, right? I know that Michael is probably thinking you have to pay fees to go through an exchange. You would still pay fees going through an atomic swap. Whoever sets up the software, the technology, is going to ding you a little bit to make those types of transfers. So that's the gist behind it. Obviously, from an ease of use case, it's much simpler to do an atomic swap, right? If I could just hit a button on my app on my phone and say, hey, you know what, I want to go from Bitcoin to Litecoin, and it does it in a couple seconds, hey, that would be better for me as opposed to having to log into my Coinbase account, do dual factor authentication, go to the exchange, sell it, and then go and buy Litecoin. That's a cumbersome process. So to me, that is one of the main reasons why people would still want to stay on exchange, because they have the security there. The other side of it is you would have the freedom and autonomy to jump off chain. So for this guy who had this $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, he made a mistake of running it through Bitcoin to another source of Bitcoin to get it out. You should run it into something that has anonymity, like, as I mentioned, Monero or Zcash. There's a ton of different ones out there that once you go through those networks, the money comes out the other side clean. Not that I'm washing dirty money or anything, but you study this stuff long enough, you find out all the little loopholes. So how about this one? This is a second one, and Brendan, I don't see Brendan in here today, but Brendan usually is pretty adamant about this one, which is the weightings. Where do we want to keep these cryptocurrencies? So for example, Michael says, how many percent should you have, for example, on a Trezor or a paper wallet, and which websites are secure to make a paper wallet? Look, no one can tell you exactly how much you should have where. I think that you should figure out what works best for you. For example, most of my holdings, the vast majority of my crypto, I'd say probably 80% of it, is held on those ledgers, those little tiny devices. Now, on my phone, for example, I'll bring it up here right now just to show you guys, because why not? I can totally do it. Let's see, I'll go with my Bread wallet. You will not be able to see my password, so let's just not do that. Okay. You might notice, I don't know if you can read the screen. There's $10,000 worth of Bitcoin on my phone. Why would I even want to do that? What if somebody stole my phone? Well, I have the backups. They wouldn't be able to get into the phone anyway with the passwords on the software and on my phone. Obviously, they're different. But I have this here for a reason, and it is because part of my excitement about the cryptocurrency industry is I want to use it. So if I go to a restaurant or something, it allows me to pay with Bitcoin, which I've done one time, and it was a clunky process, but maybe it's getting better. I would use this app and I'd simply pay for Bitcoin or pay for my meals or my shopping with Bitcoin. I'm going to try to keep this on my phone. So I've got about 10 grand. Mind you, when I put it in there, it wasn't 10 grand. I think I initially put in $2,500. So you got to love the crypto going up. Medic Mandan says, I hold all my crypto on a nano ledger. And there's nothing wrong with it. If you are the type of person that says, I'm a hodler, I'm going to buy and hold, I'm not going to ever sell my crypto, maybe 5-10 years down the road, then put it on a nano ledger, put it on a Trezor, put it on some paper wallet, and remove it from an exchange. Just get it away from any centralized exchange, because as we know, they could come in very quickly and shut down Coinbase. If the government wanted, they could shut down Coinbase tonight. 100% shut down Coinbase, and you would not have access to your capital. You would not have access to any Bitcoin or any cryptocurrencies on Coinbase because they have the private keys. So that said, I do have about 15,000 on Coinbase because I like to actively move stuff around. So when I see one very cheap, I'll sell some to buy that. And I like actively trading it. I also like playing with the platforms like Coinbase Pro. So, Michael, it's really up to you on how you want to spread that money around and how it's going to fit your needs. I totally agree with Medic. Because Medic and Big Eb here, you guys just want to hold it and don't really want to sell out or transact a lot, then great, put it on a ledger. But get it off those exchanges, guys. It's power to them, and it takes the power away from you. And the real reason that you bought these cryptos, of course, is to make money, but is also to get some money out of a centralized exchange. And by keeping it on an exchange, you are in a centralized exchange. Okay. Now that I've confused most people out there. And again, if you have questions on that, let me know. Send it on in. I'm happy to answer more in depth there. I'm just trying to keep the show flowing as this polyester clown suit is heating me up over here. Goodness gracious, it's toasty. Let's see. Next one. Now this was from, Tom sent this one in, and this is really good. Okay, I actually love this one. Tom says, moving the election to blockchain would be an interesting topic. It would speed up and clean up what is going on. While it would speed up at least 20% of the counting in certain states, a bit of a discussion would be useful as more and more are learning about crypto and blockchain. Yeah, I gotta say. So let me guess, or let me get this straight. I can go to Las Vegas. I can go to any street corner, buy an 8-ball of cocaine. I can go down to a store and I can grab all the weed and alcohol I want 24 hours a day. And if I want to go catch up with some hookers or strip clubs, no problem. I can do that 24 hours a day. But if I want votes counted, oh man, that's a hard stop at 5 p.m. I think it's because in Nevada, all these workers are like Fred Flintstone, right? They're like, hey, I got to go to the strip clubs. I got to go be the dealer at the Wynn. I can't count votes. How the hell can you do 75% of your votes in one day, and then over the next 2 days you only do another 9%? Really, Nevada? Wake up. It's crazy. Anyway, that goes back to Tom's comment here about blockchain, and I've mentioned this before. I know some of you probably know my thoughts on it. I am 100% behind this. I believe that whether you are a Republican right now and you're saying, oh, it's total voter fraud, it's manipulation, or you're a Democrat going back into 2016 saying, oh, it's total voter fraud and manipulation, bottom line is there's all kinds of weird crap that's happening with the voting system. And I think we would all agree that it's cumbersome, it's inefficient, and it can have there's so much potential for improvement in our voting system. Now, of course, if we take a step back, you got to figure out, okay, what are some of the things we can do to fix it? Number one, it has to be a way for us to all vote without those votes being duped, duplicated, making sure that everybody is actually a registered voter. And how do you do all that stuff? Well, to me, it goes back to the IRS, Internal Revenue Service. And if we had a system that maybe patched into that, well, actually, let me take a step back. The traditional system right now is what? We get a paper ballot, this big clunky book which probably destroys 1/3 of the Amazon rainforest in order for us to get all our voting brochures. Then we have to go down to the voting office if you want to do it physical, and all the resources and time and machines there that who knows if those things even work, right? I know IT guys probably look at that and go, that's a nightmare. I got 57 machines here and they're not all linked up. That's another question for me, is how those things all work. If we had a simple device, and there's actually an application out there, I'll share it with you. There's a couple. I have been actually actively looking at buying into some of these blockchain technologies that are focusing on voting. Here's one that's very active, and actually in Utah they used this in the previous elections, called Votes, VOATZ. And basically all this is an app on your phone where you get a QR code, you scan it, you can input your vote right there, and it's tracked, it's immutable. Once it's in the system, it's on their blockchain. This is the way that we should go. This would be much easier for all of us, as not just Americans, but anybody who is voting, because now I don't have to take all the time to go down to the office. I know that once I hit the send button from this app, it is now registered, tracked. I can go see and make sure that it's been counted. I have friends that still don't know whether their votes here in California have been registered, even though they went down and physically sent it in. It's not showing as being registered. So there's a lot of problems out there in... Yes, there are a lot of problems out there with the traditional system. Now, let me just real quickly say that from the benefit side of going to something like Votes, there's also one out there. It's called Chain. In 2017 and 18, Chain was talking a lot about how they were going to set up electronic voting. And Chain was a private company, but they were bought by Stellar Lumens, the token. So I went in and I actually bought a lot of Stellar Lumens because Stellar Lumens was my way to get into Chain, which is privately held. It's now called, what's it called now? Interstellar. I haven't heard much about the voting application there. I know it might still be in the works, but that's one of the reasons I bought Stellar Lumen, is because I really saw the voting need back in 2016, 17. I mean, it was abundantly clear. Now, another one, you guys might know, there's a software company called, Kaspersky or Kaspersky, whatever you want to pronounce it. What's interesting about that is they have a voting machine that is now in place. It's a blockchain base. They're doing a digital voting through their little, I guess it's a kiosk, I guess. So you can vote through this. Unfortunately, it's a Russian company. And, as Americans, we've been led to believe that the Russians are the devil and everything that Russia does is corrupt and deceptive. I'm being very sarcastic here, by the way, guys. We as a government, you always have to have a villain. And for us, it's Mother Russia. So you have Votes, you got Kaspersky, you've got Chain, also all working on these things. There's some huge benefits in here. Number one is going to be its instant tracking. Number two, let me see if I can look up at a voter map here. This is what I'm really excited about. Voter map. You look at something like this, and I just pulled this up for the Associated Press. Here is, I don't even know if it's the right thing, but you look here and you can see the number of electoral votes. With blockchain, since it's recorded instantly to the chain, you simply write a program that would tell you exactly what districts have voted when. There's no if, and, or but about it. If they voted, it's tracked. If not, it's not tracked. So you would know instantly where everybody stands. To me, that's great. You would be able to not have this. Here we are on Friday. Election was on Tuesday. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Nevada still haven't gotten their act together. And by the way, folks, some states still have until December 12th to finalize their votes. right? So they can still drag this on, and of course we're going to get lawsuits because there's voter recount or voter fraud, whatever. Though the blockchain part of it would completely get rid of this. Now, what's the negative side of having a blockchain voting system? Number one is jobs would be lost. A lot of jobs would be lost. Now, there would be some created, undoubtedly, but they would all be in some little tiny office in Utah, whereas opposed to having all of the work that the post offices have done. Some of you would argue that the post offices haven't done their work, right? We're hearing all kinds. Just so I can validate that. Oh, I took it down? Dab nabbit. I had a great article up here. Let me see if I can find it because it's worth bringing up for you guys. No, it's not that one. Bummer. So what's what happens when you have too many browsers going on? No, not there, not there. Huh. Well, I thought I had it all up and ready for you guys. So, unfortunately, I won't be able to show you that one. But there was an article that showed that the post office mishandled something like 27% of Florida's votes. With blockchain, you're not going to have that. It will be an instant recording. So, you lose a lot of the companies that are making the ballots that we get, so you can read this whole brochure, all the administration. The other thing that is, I guess, would be challenging here would be adoption. For most of us, you guys are tech savvy, right? So you want to have the text, you got all your devices. We can all pretty much vote from our phone. But if my dad is watching right now, how do we say this politely? He's not that great when it comes to technology. I'm pretty much tech support for my father. So, he gets him to be voting. He's like, well, I can't pull up the app. What am I supposed to do? Okay, well, slide your finger up and that unlocks your iPhone. Oh, it unlocks it? That's my dad for you. Anyway, there's going to be a whole lot of people that will need guidance on how to register these votes. The biggest challenge I see with electronic voting or blockchain voting, which I would prefer to have, is how do we get it so that it knows that I voted and I only voted once, right? There is that security issue. And, do you have it where you get a QR code sent to your house, you scan it, and you have to put in, your social security number and a couple other private pieces of information, and then you cast your vote? That seems logical, but it makes the assumption now every single voter has to have some sort of electronic device to make it all work. So it's a huge challenge. I don't see it happening. I know they're working on it, but for God's sake, I wish it would go much faster. I mean, it's really, really, really important that we eliminate this. I mean, you look at the thousands of hours and from my grief, your grief and frustration with all of it, regardless of who you voted for, it's got to be frustrating. Whether you think you're winning or you might lose, it's frustrating. I'd rather know instantly. Like, we should know by midnight on Tuesday of the election because all votes are in, right? There's no ballots anymore. Nothing to mail in, no post office to go, oh, let me see that one's scanned. That one has a little R on it. It means you're Republican. We'll throw that in the garbage, right? None of that can happen as long as whoever's administrating this blockchain software are on the up and up, and I'm certain there'll be some auditing out there. So hopefully you guys are excited as I am about it. Mark says Georgia's almost done, but they keep finding bulk bags of ballots. Right. If with an electronic system, we don't worry about this anymore. You either voted or you didn't. And if the person didn't vote, you could call them up and be like, you haven't voted yet. Right? Maybe that's what we have is a whole department of people that by Monday night, they call and say, they'll text everybody saying, don't forget to vote. Here's your QR code to your mobile device. That would make this a much better place. Now, unfortunately, it's not there now. Maybe in the next election we'll get enough complaints and maybe some congressional action to make it happen. But I personally don't see it happening because politicians love this stuff. This just drags it on, gives them something to talk about. It's like, no, we don't really need to do our jobs. We'll just sit here and posture back and forth and point the finger and say, well, Georgia had voter fraud, Nevada had voter fraud, and well, we need to recount in Minnesota. It's nuts. All right. Right, Richard says, if they did what you are suggesting, there would be no drama, and what is life without drama? You're absolutely right. Imagine something that's smooth, efficient, and non-negotiable, right? You could check and make sure that everybody voted. There's no way you could duplicate it, right? If it had my QR code and one vote came in, it could not count another vote from that QR code. Done! I know. Well, Pepe, I don't know if it's not going to get approved by Democrats. I don't think it'll get approved by either party because they like this type of battle. Okay, I'm gonna move on to something else here as I read through some of your comments. But that's the gist of it. As I mentioned, there's three. Voter is probably the most active one, or votes, excuse me, the most active one. And again, if you guys find something that I didn't hear, check it out. If you find something that might be interesting from a voting perspective, electronic voting, I'm all in. I mean, I'm ready to buy into companies that are doing electronic voting or leading the way, especially if it's going to be blockchain. Like if IBM comes up with a voting system, I don't really want it. I really want it to be something different. Hi, Walter. Don't be afraid of my drag dress today. Don't worry. I'm not part of the I'm not LBGA TA community. I'm okay. I'm just dressed up as a clown in honor of our political system today. Okay. Raj says only if it's hack proof. You know, any hacker will tell you nothing is hack proof. I mean, there's always that. So you're saying there's a chance of hacking something. So, you know, I talked about Bitcoin the other day where it's impossible to hack. Statistically, mathematically, it's impossible to hack it. Could it happen? Yes, but it's such a small, it's like 0.00000000000000001% chance. It could happen. If you do that, you're like 1,000 times more likely, probably 1,000,000 times more likely to win the lottery than you are cracking into a Bitcoin. Great. You guys, I knew I shouldn't have worn this outfit. All right, what do I got on my next question here? Let's see. That was that one. All right. I haven't planned anything out here for this one. I'm going to move on from the cryptocurrency discussion. If you guys want more, please feel free to type in there. I love the crypto topic. I think it's timely. It's something that's not going to go away, and it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. Sorry, Raj, I can't be president. I was not born in the United States of America, so that's off the books for me. Not going to happen. Plus, I wouldn't want that job. Hell no. Okay, Josh says, and now we'll go back to trading. Actually, you know what? No, we're not going to go back to trading. Did you guys see the crypto space here lately? Let's just look at Bitcoin. I got to bring this one up here because Bitcoin, it just hasn't gotten the fanfare because the presidential election has just taken over every mainstream media piece. But if you guys look what's been going on with Bitcoin, it is booming. We broke 16,000 today. Yesterday was like, oh, we broke 15,000, and people were freaking out. I was like, wow, man, it's crazy. Well, we broke 16 today. And if you look at, unfortunately, it's not going to be here. I'd have to go to another exchange. This one doesn't give me data that far back. So if I go monthly here, you'll see it stops when this futures contract came out. Let me see if I can go to another app and bring it up. Something similar is happening now that has happened in the past. And it's called a melt up, which is kind of what you guys saw over the past few days. I'll go here to Bitcoin, show that chart full screen. And if you look at the way this is boomed, I mean, look at the size of these candles. This is a daily. It's just been going nuts. Big candle, big candle, big candle. The same thing happened back in 2000. We've got to go scroll way back here. We'll go back into 2018, I think 17, right? Remember this run? I mean, this is one of those runs where it finally started to really move, and Bitcoin went from 5,000 to 20,000 in 2 months. But it just started on a nice breakout. And you're starting to see similar candles. Back here, there were days where this thing was moving. It moved $2,000 a day. That's pretty incredible. Now, I don't know if this is the beginning of it. I feel like it is the beginning of another big move in Bitcoin to the upside, right? We're finally starting to see that real big break, especially right now. I mean, that is just a nice big move. I'll show you a monthly just so you get a better perspective of it. There's your monthly. Actually, weekly looks better. Let's do the weekly. So there's your weekly. Notice, we finally broke through this high here. This week is really critical. We broke through this high that we had back in 2019. Now, to me, 20,000 is going to be an easy target. Big Ed said there's nothing to stop it up to 20,000 per Bitcoin. Right, I agree. There's not, you have a little bit. There's this level right above us, which is right around 16.2, which is almost where we hit today before it came, falling back down. I agree with you. I think once we hit 20,000, what'll be interesting, and it'll be very interesting for all of us who are holding Bitcoin right now, what'll happen, hopefully the dust from all this political garbage will settle. What'll happen? Let me ask you guys, what do you think will happen when Bitcoin breaks the all-time high? And according to this chart and Bitstamp, this is just one exchange, Bitcoin's all-time high was, according to Bitstamp, 19,666. So what happens, guys? Type it in chat. What do you think will happen when we break 20,000 on Bitcoin? There is a very predictable psychological reaction to Bitcoin breaking 20,000. And it's the same thing as the Dow breaking its all-time high or the S&P breaking its all-time high. What normally happens is you get this big surge once it breaks. Why? Because it's now the forefront of almost everybody's talk track. If Bitcoin breaks above 20,000, every major news outlet, including CNBC, will be talking about it the first thing that comes on the show. Right? Today, guys, Bitcoin broke through 20,000. And what that does is that not only brings in all these retail investors that go, oh shit, it's at 20,000? I got to buy into this. Yeah, where were you guys at 5,000? Where were you at 3,000, right? It will rip to the upside. And also, one of the things I talked about in the video when I was mentioning, why I believe Bitcoin is going to go to 100,000 by 2023 is we are starting to see more and more, number one, acceptance by the global community. Number two, we're seeing acceptance by institutions. And number three, you're seeing institutions starting to dive into, not just put their foot in, they're diving into it. They're buying exchanges. They're starting to get involved with all things crypto, which further validates and substantiates the need for crypto. When that happens, you look at the ones that have finite numbers like Bitcoin, 21 million Bitcoin, it's going to continue to move. So it'll be a great one. Vitalik will be huge too. Honestly, I love Vitalik. I wish he would do more public speaking. He's great. Vitalik Buterin, guys, he's a savant. Like I say, I would love to meet him someday. He's just a brilliant mind. He's really an awkward character. He's one of those people that you just like, yeah, you're not normal. And then he starts talking about cryptography and blockchains and data, and you're just like, wow, you're way over my head, and I think I'm kind of smart. Vitalik is off the chart smart. Okay, let me go back to the topic because I was starting to sway there. I wanted to just show you the Bitcoin chart, and some of the other ones have been doing really well, like Ethereum's been doing great. Let's go to more trading stuff. And again, if you want more, type it in the chat. I'll be happy to keep going. We could make it a long show today. Josh says, I'm strictly a supply and demand trader, but how can I use moving averages properly to help me alongside my trading? That is, like, help to show me as an extra form of confirmation that a trade has some form of higher odds of working because the moving averages did something. I never dove into using moving averages, so I don't know which periods to use and on what time frames. I'm typically just taking breakout trades off the 2 and 4 hour charts. So I have to get a pen here and write down because there's a lot of stuff to talk here with moving averages. So first and foremost, to go to your question, make sure I have the question up here. Okay. First and foremost, I need a little sip of whiskey here for my Friday afternoon in my clown suit. So cheers, everybody. With regards to moving averages, if you want to increase your probability of being honest in a successful trade, it's very, very simple. Number one, your odds are always better going with the trend. There's no argument. You can look at all the famous trading groups out there. The turtles are the ones that come to mind. That was simply a trend following type of organization. So if something is trending up, then you want to be looking for any opportunity to buy into that trend at appropriate prices, not chase something like the market, chasing the market today. So if you have difficulty identifying what the trend is or how strong the trend is, then simple moving averages or exponential moving averages can really help you there. Now, I'm not going to get into divergences or things like that. We'll just talk about the use of moving averages. Depending on your time frame, and going back to Josh's question here, he says, I'm typically just taking breakout trades off a 2-hour chart or a 4-hour chart. Okay, if you're someone who's looking at long-term investment perspective, right, you're looking at trades that could last weeks to months, then you're probably going to be using moving averages on those daily or weekly time frames, something much, much bigger. If you're using intraday, 2-hour and 4-hour charts, maybe getting down to 15-minute time frames, you're probably going to want to use exponential moving averages because they're more responsive to the most recent data, and because it sounds like you're somewhat of a shorter term guy, you want to be reacting quicker. Now, what is it? Basically, it's this. If I take a 10 period moving average, and we'll do it on a daily chart, it's simply taking the last 10 days of closing prices, so last 10 closing bars, dividing up by 10, adding them all together and dividing by 10. So I'll show you on a chart here. I think I have. Let's put up the S&P 500. That's kind of an ugly chart. I want a better looking chart, something that's not just erratic and all over. Okay, we'll do gold. How about gold? So I'm going to add in moving averages here just to show you from the buy-in perspective or the assistance perspective, right? If I look at gold right now on the monthly time frame, I'm looking at it. There's one spot maybe around 1630 I'd like to buy, but I'm going to go switch it down to a daily time frame. To me, most of these moving averages, things like that, work better on the daily time frame. I always start there. Okay, so I'll add on 2 moving averages just for giggles, and you can set those time frames to be whatever you want. The main thing I would talk about here, Josh, is you want to stick with the defaults that most people are using. The reason for that is there is a self-fulfilling prophecy to a lot of these indicators. I think some of you, Richard, it's not a dress. Here. Oh, I already threw my clown mask, and I think my dog ran away with it. So no clown mask. But yeah, this is Pennywise from It. It's a Halloween costume, in case you haven't figured that one out. So yeah, you want to stick with the defaults. You want to stick with the 20, the 40, the 50, or the 200. Those are generally the ones that everybody is using, and they default to that in the software. Now, I've changed mine because I like to switch things up. And this one, I've got a 50 and a 200, okay? 200 period moving average for someone like you, Josh, who's using a 2 and 4 hour chart is just unnecessary. You wouldn't need to go that long term. I mean, unless something is really tanking, then I would say stay away from it. So I'm going to make this a 20 and a 50. Right? So basically what it's telling me now is I should be looking for shorting opportunities. Why? Because the 50 period moving average here is trending down. It's just starting to slope back up. The 20 period is sloping slightly, but what's the picture telling you? Don't remember the indicators are lagging, right? These blue and red lines here are lagging. They're taking historical data. The blue one is taking the last 20 closes, and the red one's, the red one's taking the last 20 closes, and the blue one's taking the last 50 closing prices. The last 50 closing prices, put us somewhere up in here. So if we just take those off and look at the trend, I know that I should be thinking about going short gold. Sorry, Brendan, I know that you're super bullish on gold. I'm just saying that price chart right now still shows weakness. It hasn't started to make new highs. Now, if we get above this number here, like right around, if we get above 1975, 1980, somewhere in there, then maybe I'll change my tune. But right now, it's looking rather bearish. So I would be looking for supply zones to go short gold. And the moving averages right now are kind of flat and slightly turning up, so it's not that great of a helper. Let's look at something like NASDAQ. Here it doesn't help me at all, right? Right now I'm looking at this as a short at supply. We come right into this 12,100 level on the NQ, but moving averages are kind of trending up. That's not very helpful. How about... I'm curious about this one because DraftKings reports earnings on Friday, which should be interesting. All right, here you have one where the 20-period moving average, which is the red line, is clearly showing you weakness, right? It's saying this thing's been an aggressive sell-off, but if you needed that line to tell you that, you have a problem. Look at the chart. I mean, the chart was over $60 and dropped all the way to 35. Remember, we talked about this one as being a potential short. It's kind of funny. I wish that somebody could do what they do with Jim Cramer, which is go back on some of my calls. This was one. Someone asked me about going long. I think it was at 50, and I said, guys, short it. If anything, short this one, and I might be a buyer at 35. We bounced off 35. I mean, it's bounced off it to the T. Anyway, if you need a moving average to tell you what the trend is, you have a problem. What it should do is validate it. Now, the only challenge here that you have with DraftKings using moving averages is that 50 is sideways, if not slightly up, right? That's not the best confirming sign. But in this case, you should be looking to short rallies on DraftKings, right? That's pretty much it. If you have another symbol, just type them in. Hi, Sheena. I was dressed up as a clown today because of all the election and all the crazy stuff, so I wanted to be Pennywise. Oh, I probably should have a little lower third that says, here's Pennywise from It. Because it's such a clown show, I figured I had a mask on earlier, but I ended up throwing it in disgust. So cheers. Happy Friday, Sheena. All right, so Josh, I don't know if you're here with us today, but with all of these things, if you look at Brandon Wendell, what he talks about in the signature series was an 888. I think it's 8 and 88 period moving averages. A lot of people use those as crossovers for triggers. They'll also maybe use those as what's called a bullish or bearish divergence, negative divergence, positive divergence, what do you want to call them? There's a lot of different ways we can use it, but the bottom line is if you want to be successful, you should be looking at whatever that trend is doing, right? So in this case with DraftKings, you're at a short point right now. It's not the best, but you're coming right in this area of supply where it hesitated, had a nice little rally up. To me, that's a potential short. I would be very careful. This guy reports earnings on Friday of next week. All right, what else do you guys want to cover? Any other? I went through the questions that came in, so I will kind of keep it there. Brandon says, yeah, there's a few out there. Ivan on Tech, if you guys want, Ivan on Tech is probably, for my opinion, the best, although he's gotten a little bit more sensational over the last 2 years. If you go 3 years ago, he was just the best on YouTube. It's for free, called Ivan on Tech if you want to know more about crypto, but it gets a little deep sometimes. He's a programmer. Okay, what else do you guys want me to cover today? Tell me about something that's hot on your list. Let's see, what do we have Monday? Oh, Monday, by the way, this is one I saw on Brendan, your Facebook today. If you look at some of the weed stocks today, you talk about potentially pricing in a Victor. Look at Aurora Cannabis today, ACB. Hallelujah, hallelujah. You know, this is one, going back to Josh's argument about, or my argument about moving averages. Okay, here you have this moving average is trending down, trending down, trending down. Your bias should be to the short side. But once it was so low, you know, in a $3 range, well, you really can't be thinking shorting anymore. All of a sudden today, you had huge moves up in the cannabis stocks. You have ACB, you had CGC. By the way, all three of these companies, Aurora Cannabis, Canopy Growth, and TLRY, they all report earnings on Monday. So be careful with this one. But, you know, it's up 100% in 3 days. That's pretty amazing. I would expect a little bit of a retracement there. But MJ is the ETF, which has gone from about $11.30 to almost $15 in that same period of time. So very, very, very good moves up in the cannabis industry. You know, we mentioned with Larry on the show with Larry for the presidential spew show, Red, White, and Spew, that, you know, one of the big benefactors here from a Biden victory, a Democratic victory, would most likely be cannabis, and the talk will come up here soon about potentially making this legal from a federal perspective. And if that happens, well, then this industry is set to moon and really, really boom. Nice. Brandon says up 97% on Tilray at the close. Excellent. I need a button. I need a little sound button here. So I thought that was noteworthy. I know a lot of you guys have been asking about the cannabis industry. I'm still very bullish on it, and I'm probably more bullish than ever because, again, if we get legalization on the federal level, I believe we had, 4 new states made. I know that it was on a bunch of different ballots, and it passed on all of them, whether it was medicinal or recreational. It passed on all the ballot initiatives that were out there for it. So to me, you know, I think there's a lot more upside here, but you just don't want to get caught chasing. Let's see. What's fueling those moves? Walter, you're talking about cannabis? I think a lot of it is the expectation of a Democratic victory. I think that's a major part of it. The other part is there's always news coming out on these different companies. The earnings announcement, some people were saying the earnings came out today. It's scheduled for Monday, so I know that. And it might be people just, anticipating Aurora's big blowout earnings on Monday. Who knows? But I think it's the Biden victory is really what's doing it. Was it 3 states? Yeah. Not only is shrooms legal in Oregon, there's a lot of other stuff that's legal in Oregon right now. I don't know. Oregon could be an interesting place to go. All right. Sherry Pierce says, what do you think of OLN? Okay. I'll bring up OLN. Olin. OLIN, huh? OLN. I just real quickly, I want to bring it up over here for you guys. And technically, you know, everybody that knows me knows I would probably say shy away from this one, right? Just simply because of the move. It's just you'd be chasing something, and it's moved a tremendous amount in just a couple of days. Now, of course, I wouldn't. If I saw this chart, I wouldn't start here. I would zoom out and say where has it come from and what might it run into. So here's your weekly on OLN. Olin, let me see. Level-wise, actually, you know what? You're coming. It actually just hit a pretty nice supply zone, really right on it, going all the way back into July. Now, this is again a similar situation. Going back to Josh's question about moving averages, the moving averages tell you that you need to be going short on this security, right? Just sell it, sell it, sell it. But there's a point where a downtrend is broken, and right now, to me, it has definitely broken that downtrend because of the break of the highs of 2020. You look at this high right here, back to February 21st, it broke above that, right? And to me, that is the sign that you reverse that trend for whatever reason. Now, these guys, whether they're basic materials, specialty chemicals, things like that, I don't know too much about what they're doing or why it's moved so much. But bottom line is, from a picture perspective, this looks like it might be potentially off to the races and moving to the upside. Now, that said, I don't like to chase things that move this much. It's dangerous when you look at something that's gone that quick to say, I'm going to buy it right now. There's so many unfilled gaps that this thing could come screaming back down. So it's beautiful if you're in it and you own it and you're long. I'd be very wary about trying to buy into that thing. Walter's Argonian, huh? It's a fun night for you, huh? All right. Well, congrats, Brendan. We can buy that new house, right? You're asking about tan. Similar picture, right? Tan, we were skeptical on this one because to me it's already priced in a Biden victory. If you just look at the trajectory of it, it's really priced in a lot. You notice since those March lows, it's up well over 100%. I think it's actually 200% gain. I'll show you the exact numbers here from those lows to where we peaked out. Well, I'll do it from the close today. You're up about 255% in less than a year. Pretty good move there. So I think that there's a little bit of overzealousness in the alternative energy, clean energy space because of potential Biden victory. And the way that it happened today, it's not signed, sealed, and delivered yet. I think we all know that even if Biden is declared the president because he won on electoral votes, whether he wins Pennsylvania or Nevada or Georgia, which I believe he's ahead in right now, doesn't matter. There's going to be so much legal and finger pointing and gone are the days where a president would walk away and be like, okay, congratulations, I'll move on. Gone are those days. It's gonna be an ugly way. All right, let's see what else. You guys had tan. I went to that one for you, Raj. JK. He's talking JK Jinko Solar. Yeah. And again, this is one of those ones that has moved that whole sector up. It's funny, a friend of mine sent me a watch list of different clean energy stocks, which she built a while back. And I'm looking at her and go, did you buy all these? And she goes, no, I've just been watching. I'm like, man, well, don't buy them now. All right, you are way up there. Big Ev says, Merlin, opinion of Zoom. All right. Oops. It's ZM. Yeah, I always spell the whole thing out. I always mess with me. Okay. What's my take on Zoom? Look, how challenging, I know we have some programmers in there, how difficult do you think that it would be to create something that competes with Zoom from the ground up right now? If we had to start a company, I could get in a few programmers, learn how to connect it where people could just plug in, share their camera. I don't think it would be that difficult. What boosted Zoom, in my opinion, if guys feel free to debate me on this one, I'd love to hear your perspectives on it. But I think what happened is Zoom was at the right place at the right time. Video conferencing wasn't really that big of a deal, right? Yeah, one or two people, but it wasn't the backbone of how businesses are working today. So what happens is they were the right place at the right time. They were the main player in that space, and they have gone stratospheric. If I forget the CEO of Microsoft or Google or Amazon. If I'm any one of those CEOs, I'm going, hey, you know what? I want you guys to take $1 million. I want you to create a department, and all I want you to do is create a system where people can log in, plug in their cameras, and share it. And you know what? Let's just mimic Zoom. To me, what will happen is Zoom, honestly, buy leaps in Zoom, or buy long puts in Zoom. I might actually back my words up with that one. Because in the next year, Microsoft's probably the first one to roll out, right? Microsoft's going to go, hey, you know what? We've got Microsoft Office, free meetings, free Zoom competitor, and all of a sudden you've crushed Zoom. Because most of the schools have Microsoft Windows, you instantly crush them, instantly. So to me, right, and exactly, our company as well, on the Trade Academy, we have Zoom, but we're using Teams a lot, right? So I think that is something that's going to really crush Zoom. I mean, this chart looks gorgeous, but you see that 20-period moving average is going sideways. It's failed to make higher highs. If we all start to, not all, but if a majority of Americans start to go back to work and everything gets back to normal, where do you think this thing's going? It's not going to stay up here. And I think increased competition. This isn't like creating an electric vehicle. Right, competing with Tesla, whole different ballgame. Right, I have to come up with factories and technology and schematics and electronics and batteries and all this stuff. That's a massive undertaking. This is seriously a room full of programmers saying, "How can I want to get 10 computers in my office." You guys, Brendan, you're a programmer. Come fly to my house. I'll get a couple of the programmers. We'll set up my living room. We'll get 10 separate PCs, some connected to wireless, some connected to different networks, and we'll figure out how to all connect them to one software program and then market the hell out of it. That's all Zoom really did. I think they can get destroyed in a heartbeat. I would not be buying Zoom here at all. Walter Rosales, right? Should I go to Microsoft and pitch it? My word, bam, Zoom did security issues. Yeah, right, Chris? I was hearing nightmare stories about like elementary school kids. Excuse me. Elementary school kids, doing Zoom classes, and some guy walks in, or somebody, doesn't be a guy, someone joins in because there was no security measure there, and all of a sudden, showing X-rated pictures in front of a bunch of kids. Gotta love that one. Great. All right, let me show you what's happening economic calendar-wise for tomorrow, or I want to show you today, because today actually had some decent numbers. If we look at the U.S., this was a good day. All right, we dropped to 6.9% on the unemployment rate for the U.S. You saw non-farm employment change increase. It increased versus expectations. You guys can see here, this is the challenge of data. We dropped from the previous month reading from 672,000 jobs to 638. So it's a slide there, but certainly better than expectations, and unemployment dropped significantly. So that was a very nice piece for today. Now, if you look at the Canadian unemployment, they dropped a little bit. So it went from 9% to 8.9%, so not as good. And while their jobs increased over expectations, it was down significantly versus the previous month. Now, for Monday, here's your economic calendar. For the U.S., there's not a lot of really critical stuff happening on Monday, but you do have down at the bottom there, you have unemployment rate coming out for the U.K., which is expected to increase for the U.K. Other than that, don't see anything that's too significant there. As I mentioned, Monday is weed day. Smoke them if you got them. Earnings calendar shows you Canopy Growth, Aurora, and Tilray. That's all before market. Canopy and Aurora are before market, as well as McDonald's. Conveniently, McDonald's comes out when all the munchie companies report earnings, and then you have Tilray reporting after market close. And if you are one of those Robinhood traders who got caught up in the emotions and said, I have to buy Hertz because it's a bankrupt company trading at a few cents, I'm going to buy it, they report earnings on Monday too, so good luck with that one, Robinhood traders. Okay, guys, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to go rip off this clown suit, grab a frosty cold, but the whiskey's good, but I feel like I'm in a beer mood today. It's going to rain here in SoCal. I'm going to fire up the smoker and get some food on the barbecue, so I hope that all of you have a fantastic weekend out there. If you enjoyed today's show or just think I'm a total clown, like, get it? A clown dressed up as a clown? You can feel free to leave any comments down below the YouTube video. Hit that little thumbs up button as well. That always helps me. Send in comments and questions as you guys have been doing. A lot of the questions for today's show came in at TraderMerlin.com. So keep those ones coming. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for tolerating me and my shenanigans dressed up as a clown. It is sweating in this damn outfit. I will see you guys on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody.